Hello everyone! In this episode we'll be making another classic Sichuan dish, ants climbing a tree or 蚂蚁上树. The key to this dish is sweet potato noodles or 红薯粉. The brand I used was quite expensive, but there are cheaper brands such as this one. We'll start by preparing 250 grams of dried sweet potato noodles, to which we'll add some hot but not boiling water to. We'll allow the noodles to soak in the water and rehydrate. Give them about 15 to 20 minutes to do so. In the meantime, let's prepare some ingredients, including about 200 grams of ground pork.
So I'll put these aside and we'll grind this up. I'll see you in a bit. So the thing about fat is that fat tends to smear, right? Anybody who takes part in charcuterie knows that very well, especially during the summer. So we're going to separate the fat and cut that separately first before it spreads out. Okay, what's left is mostly lean, so let's put that aside. Let's cut up this part. That's already smeared on my clean board. So you roughly know that this is 25% of the weight. So we're going to end up with 75-25 of lean to fat, which is good for most applications. Okay. Now you have some hand chopped meat, about 25 or 30% fat, suitable for a wide variety of applications. Of course, use a grinder if you need it finer than this.
We'll now prepare some side ingredients. We'll need 20 grams of garlic, 15 grams of ginger, and another 20 grams of ginger cut separately, 30 grams of spring onions, a few dried chilies, and 200 grams of ground pork. We'll start by taking that 20-gram piece of ginger and cutting it into julienne. We'll start by cutting it into thin slices so that we get some coins. We'll then stack those coins and cut them into fine strips. The purpose of adding ginger strips is to add texture and a spicy flavor to the dish. We'll now take that 15-gram piece of ginger and cut it into a few small pieces, which we'll then crush and mince. The minced ginger will add a background flavor to the dish, whereas the sliced ginger the julienne ginger will add texture. I'm taking that time to mince the ginger finely here, because you want those ginger pieces to stick to the noodles later. We'll do the same with the garlic. We'll crush the garlic cloves and then mince them pretty finely. And we'll put them together with the minced garlic, the minced ginger. We'll now prepare the spring onions. I've already cleaned the green parts of the spring onions and separated them from the whites. So cut off the little bulbs from each of the spring onions, and then cut those to pieces. We'll do the same with the bulbs, first cutting them in half so that they maintain a rather even size. We'll now cut some of the green parts of the spring onion. These parts can be put together with the white parts of the spring onion. And then we'll cut up the dark green leaves and serve those separately, so that we can add these at the end for freshness. These are the noodles. They have swelled up after soaking for 15 to 20 minutes, and that's the starchy water that they were in. We'll pour it out and just let those noodles drain. Heat up a wok and toss in those dry chilies. I'm using a mixture of packaged dried chilies and some dried out fresh chilies from my fridge. The dried out fresh chilies are spicier, whereas the packaged dried chilies are more aromatic. Roast them until the packaged dried chilies are super crispy like that. The fridge dried ones will never be as crispy. However, we are now going to cut that up into a nice chili powder. This is going to add some extra roasted flavor and aroma and a bit more color to the dish. As you can see, this step will create quite the mess. So if you don't like this, you can use a food processor or a mortar and pestle. But right now, I'm hand chopping that chili powder. So I've chopped up all the crispy dry chilies first, until we've gotten ourselves a pretty fine powder. And now for those fresh chilies. We're going to cut those into little rings. And then we're going to mince them up and finally mix them together with the crushed dried chilies. If this step is too troublesome for you, you can buy pre-made, pre-packaged crushed chili flakes, but they will not be as aromatic or spicy. We have about 2 tablespoons of that crushed chili paste ready to go. We're now ready to cook. We'll heat up that wok, and because I'm using frozen meat here, I'm gonna add this meat directly to the wok without adding oil. This is because if I were to add oil, the ice crystals in the meat would melt into water and it would splatter with the oil. If you're using fresh meat, you will need to add a little bit of oil here. So cook out that meat until it's no longer pink. And I'll toss it about a bit, just to make sure it's not sticking too hard. At this stage, we'll soon be able to add oil to the dish. Here we go. We'll add about 1 tablespoon of oil, because I'm using pork belly. If you're using lean ground pork, you may need 2 tablespoons. We'll now stir fry that pork until it's fragrant. And turn on the exhaust hood. We'll add in our finely minced ginger and garlic and stir fry them to bring out the aroma. We're going to add about a tablespoon of doubanjiang, or hot broad bean paste. Remember, always do this on low heat, otherwise the red color will not come out. You can turn the heat back up once you've mixed it in. And we'll add those 2 tablespoons of crushed chili powder. We'll now add in those rehydrated sweet potato noodles. And we'll stir fry them. We'll gradually mix in that meat sauce until the noodles start to change color a little bit. You'll notice that some of my noodles are sticking to the wok. Unfortunately, I think the seasoning of my wok came off because someone else helped me clean my wok and they did not clean it in the correct way. So it seems that I will have to re-season the wok after this video. I added a little bit of water here just to prevent the noodles from burning, but I wouldn't advise doing this too much as it would kill the aroma of the noodles. We'll now add in those ginger strips. We don't want to cook those too long since we still want the fresh spicy flavor. And we'll also add in our spring onions. So again, I apologize that some of my noodles are sticking to the wok. If your wok is well seasoned, this shouldn't happen. We'll tilt the wok just so that we can get a little more char on those noodles. However, since the noodles have a high water content, it's not going to carry as much wok hei as a dry stir fry. Now we'll add some seasonings. Add a tablespoon of light soy sauce and drizzle that from the side of the wok. And add a teaspoon of black vinegar for some refreshing acidity. This does not need to be thrown in from the side of the wok because we want that fresh acidity coming into the noodles. I'll add a teaspoon of dark soy sauce here for color. To finish, we'll add in the green parts of the spring onions and a little bit of white pepper. I forgot to do so right now, but yes, you can add chicken powder to this as well. So just mix up a little bit until the seasoning's distributed evenly. And there you have it. We'll add about a half teaspoon of chicken powder there, and we should be done with the dish. The noodles are a nice dark brown color. They'll be fragrant, aromatic, and it's bursting with flavor. And there we have it. Ants climbing a tree, or 蚂蚁上树. Simply finish with a drizzle of sesame oil at the table, and that's it. Hope you enjoyed this recipe.